Asian Americans are avid entrepreneurs. For example, according to a survey from U.S. Census Bureau, between 2007 and 2012, the number of Asian-owned businesses grew about 24%, while in contrast, the total number of U.S. firms increased only by 2%. Today, we are thrilled to have three distinguished guests who are Chinese American entrepreneurs. Firstly, I'd like to introduce Dr. Mingtao Jiang, who is the founder and president of Marathon Ginseng International, Inc. He founded Marathon Ginseng in 2010 after being a medical scientist and professor in the area of heart disease for more than 2 decades. Our second guest is Dr. Dehua Yang, who is the founder and president of eBedical. Prior to founding eBedical, Dehua worked at Haisicong Corporation, where he climbed the corporate ladder from a manager to a vice president. Our third guest is Dr. Chenfeng Liu, who is the co-founder of FiberWorks Food and Blue Canopy Biotech. FiberWorks is a company providing consumers with alternative protein products that are tasty, sustainable, cruelty-free. Before co-founding the company, Chenfeng had extensive research experience in food and industrial biotech for over a decade. Let's welcome to our guests again. Let's get into it. My first two questions are actually for Mingtao. Firstly, we admire the career decisions you made. You choose a path that's very rare among Chinese Americans. How did the decision get made, and what were the main drivers?
Thank you, Guoguang. Thank you for the organizers. Great to see you and everybody. I see a couple old friends from Minnesota. Yes, my career path is very unique. Based on USDA stats, that's about 0.3% of Asian Pacific Islanders are in agriculture. For Chinese American, I think maybe 1 in 10,000. So if you want to be a doctor, right? I have my good friend, Dr. Li Huagui from Minnesota. He was my college graduate school roommate. So if you want to follow my career path, so here's my story. Yes, I did 20 years of research, lab research on the heart, first in Canada, and then in Wisconsin. So in about 12 years ago, I decided to have a career change for one reason or for two reasons. In Wisconsin, as in Minnesota, we have long winters. When I moved from Canada to Wisconsin, the first couple of years, I experienced seasonal affective disorder, right? We got long winter, so we don't see the sunlight. So I decided to have a career change. About in 2009, my family got relocated from Milwaukee to Marathon County, Wisconsin. And for those of you who knows heard about it, Marathon County is the ginseng capital of America. So I decided to be a ginseng farmer. We say our Chinese Americans, right? We love two things, Ivy schools and ginseng. So hopefully I get one thing right. So 13 years later, yes, I'm here. Our ginseng products has been carried in China and of course here in the US. And we have established a solid brand, and it has been hard work, but rewarding. Thank you, Guoguang.
Thank you, Mingtao. That was great. My second question for you is, we had a COVID in the last 2 years. How did the COVID and also the worsening US-China business relations impact your business, and how have you been handling so far?
American ginseng grown in Wisconsin has depended on Asia or Asian market for the last 100 years. For the tariff war between US and China, which is about 6 years, 4 years old. In June, of course, that has a very significant impact on the overall market for its unpredictability. As you know, Jensen, we have to plan like 3 or 5 years ahead for the market. And with the pandemic, of course, it shuts down international travel, right? So as a result, the whole industry is in a survival mood. And of course, we also fight all night weather. So in Chinese, we say, 我们靠天吃饭，天气天朝. So we are hoping for the end of the pandemic here in the US, of course, and also in China, that our retail or international travelers will revive our retail business. So with the help of the government, such as SBA and USDA, yeah, we are surviving.
That's good to hear. My next questions are for Dehua. So firstly, what are the biggest hurdles in the process of founding your own company, and what are the kind of motivations for you?
Yes, thank you, Guoguang, for your nice introduction and the opportunity to be part of May Forum. I think the biggest hurdle for me at the time starting Ebetco, shortened for Exponential Business and Technologies Company, was to make a decision itself to start a new business. There would be so many things to win if I would be successful, and so many things to lose if I would fail. Luckily, my motivations were so strong, tremendous, overwhelming. I was ready. One of the motivations was to contribute back to the society using what I had learned and what I could do. The other important one was to break the status quo of my professional career and get into unknown and uncharted territories once more. We are immigrants and we are risk takers. Getting into unknown and uncharted territories actually are very attractive, and it's something that we would like to do. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Dehua. I guess the second question for you is, how did you identify the business opportunity and why Minnesota as your base?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. But actually, it's an easy answer, and the identification of the business opportunities was, relatively easy and natural. In 2007, nanoscience and nanotechnology was still a buzzword. Many companies were trying to keep up with the nanotechnology revolution and were lacking of resources and understanding and support. At the same time, I had got into nanotechnology field much earlier, about 10 years earlier, and had a good understanding and a good knowledge about it. So therefore, Ebetco was created to bridge the gap between nanotechnology and industrial applications. So we were set up to have a one-stop shop for nanotechnology implementation and ongoing support. From the top level, we will be a consultant to help company to create the nanotechnology implementation strategies and the tactics through market research, SWOT analysis. If the customer has a strategy already in place and need to have ongoing support to solve some problem, to carry out a short-term R&D, or to conduct some lab services, then we will provide short-term contract lab services. And when the customer is ready to implement the nanotechnology in-house, bring everything in-house, we will try to do our best to facilitate their needs by providing, we call the nanotech enabling products like instruments, equipment, and machineries. As you can see, we form a circle to do nanotechnology support for our customers. So far, we have carried out 2,500 projects in consulting contract lab services for more than 1,000 satisfied customers from many countries of the world, including Fortune 500 companies, middle-sized companies, and technical startups. Many of them are in the Twin City areas. We are known here in the medical devices companies and for over support for them. And so far, 15 years into this business, we are going strong. In 2017, Ibetco has created a big news, at least for us, and reached a very important milestone. We attained ISO 17025 accreditation for many of our nanoscale analytical services, which is very important because ISO 17025 is the highest standard a service and testing lab that can obtain. From this point of view, that the opportunity was identified correctly in the beginning, we are happy that we are still in business. As to your question about why Minnesota is a good place, for us, and that answer is relatively easy. Also, in general, Minnesota is our feeling is that it's very good for small business. As you know, that so many industrial leading companies like 3M, Medtronic, Target, Best Buy, Honeywell, they all have roots in Minnesota. So they are excellent examples that we can look up to and also learn from. And of course, you can always dream someday that your company may be one of them. The other great advantage, Minnesota for startup and small businesses is that it's educated workforce. According to 2012 census, Minnesota was ranked number 2 among 50 states, with 48% of people who are at age between 25 and 64. They are having, associate and higher education degree. So, there is so good of a talent pool that you can use. Of course, Minnesota also have very strong small business and startup supporting programs like the small business development centers everywhere. And then, the SBIR supporting program and, nonprofit organization like SCORE and incubator like UEL and the Minnesota COP program, organized by Carlson School of Business at the University of Minnesota. There are so many things that I think it's a good place to start a business. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dehua. Yeah, definitely glad to see your business growing in a fast pace. The next question for Chenfeng Lü. Chenfeng, there are quite some companies generating alternative protein products. How is your company differentiated from others?
First, I would like to thank Jianping and Guoguang for the invitation to partake in this great forum. Truly honored and excited to join this very impressive list of speakers. So, do you know that traditional meat production takes about 70% of the arable land, 1/3 of the freshwater supply, and emits 15% of the greenhouse gas emission? So continue the way we provide protein to consumer, the same way that we do this for millenniums is just not sustainable. We're already driving the latest technology. We are using the latest cell phones. So why do not embrace technology for food? As a result, you see quite a few alternative protein companies pop up in recent years. our company, Fiberworks, is really the world's first company to grow real meat proteins using precision fermentation to provide food companies with tasty, affordable, and nutritious protein ingredients. And you might ask, why fermentation, right? So this is how fast different cell lines grow in a 24-hour period. From a single cell, in 24 hours, you'll get 2 cow cells. If you start from a single chicken cell, you get 4 cells. But if you start from a microbial cell, you get billions and trillions of cells in 24 hours. So by using fermentation, we can really harness this productivity of these microbes and drive down the production cost.
That's great, Chenfeng. Are there, are there any learnings you'd like to share with the audience in the area of, transforming like research to real products? I know you have quite some research experience before you actually founding this company.
Right. Yeah, you're right. So I have extensive research experience, very little business experience before I started this journey. But it turns out to be not as difficult transition as most people think. Because if you think about it, the common traits of researcher and entrepreneur, they share a lot of common traits, such as problem-solving skills, being driven, being passionate about your project. And for deep tech startups, knowledge about IP is also very critical in both cases. There was also, I've learned that there are a few differences. For instance, the researcher engineers tend to focus on what could go wrong, and being an entrepreneur, you have to be an ultimate optimist and ignore some of the flaws of your product or technology. And in terms of risk appetite, entrepreneurs tend to take, I think Dehua, just like Dehua mentioned, entrepreneurs tend to take a lot more risks. As an engineer and a scientist, we tend to be a bit more risk averse. At a personal level, at least for me, I think when I was an employee, I was always looking forward to Fridays and dread about Mondays. Now it's the opposite. I dread about Fridays because nothing gets done over the weekend, and looking forward to Monday.
Thanks, Chenfeng. Actually, I prepared one more question for all our speakers, but I also know that we're significantly running behind the schedule. So I like to kind of cut it a little short, but before that, I'd like to thank all the speakers here. Thanks for sharing your insight and time. And also thanks all the audience here for your attention. Now let's move back to Chen.
Thank you, Guoguang. Thanks for the speakers for sharing your journey and loved your passion and your innovation. Best luck to your business, and may it bring you wealth and happiness.